I thought this was a police car. Hi, my name's Henrietta. I was an ALT in the Nagano prefecture of Japan for nearly 4 years, and I was woefully underprepared when I moved there. So I moved out there in late 2017 and I stayed there during COVID and moved back late 2021. Just for a bit of context, I had never lived abroad before. I had no formal training of Japanese. I tried to teach myself some before I moved out, but for the most part, I didn't speak or read anything. And there is so much I wish I knew before I moved out there. Starting with the bills and tax system and how that all works. So when I moved up, my company set me up with a JP Post account, which didn't come with a debit card. It was only a cash card, which means you can take money out at an ATM, but you can't pay via a card machine with your card, which is fine, but it also meant I couldn't set up a direct debit very easily with like little to no knowledge of Japanese from my card. So these bills would come through in the post and I would have no idea what they are, but they would have the amount on them and they would have a barcode on them. So what you have to do when you get paper bills through to your home is you have to take them to any convenience store. They'll scan them there and you can pay with cash or a credit card there. But for the first month or two, I would take all of my bills to school with me and ask my co-workers, like, I have no idea what this is. What bill is this? Where do I pay this? What do I do?
What does this say? I don't know, Haru. One of you shot the Haru that can read.
So when you get a paper bill through to your house, all you have to do is take it to the convenience store, show it to the person at the register, they'll scan it for you and you pay them. What bills you get and where they come from depend on what region you're living in. But normally you'll get a bill for your water, your electricity, your gas, your internet, depending on if that's included in your house, and then your taxes. When I moved over, I had kind of a 3 years worth of taxation because I'd come straight after graduating. I hadn't had a full-time job for the year previously, so my previous year's income was zero, essentially. So I had a really cheap year for the first year, but after your first year of living in Japan, or if you've come from a full-time job, your bills will go up significantly. So the main 4 taxes you'll be getting are your income tax, which will probably be taken out of your salary, your health insurance, your pension, and your city tax. Your city tax is kind of like a council tax. It will vary from region to region, but my health insurance used to be about 18,000 a month. My city tax was about 130,000 a year, and my electricity gas bill was about maybe 4,000 each a month. But after you're set up in your city hall for all of your taxes and whatnot, you'll get one of these through in the post. This is your pension book. Don't lose this, it's super important. This is what a bill will generally look like. I mean, they all might look a little bit different, but on the whole, it'll look like an amount at the bottom and a barcode at the bottom, and you just take it to be scanned. The rule of thumb I liked to use was, if it's got a barcode, it's a bill, take it to a convenience store and pay it. Okay, number 2 on the list of things I wish I'd known might be a bit obvious, but a bit more than the basic amount of Japanese. So I moved out there with a can-do attitude and basic aisatsu knowledge, so I could do greetings and say please and thank you, but apart from that, didn't really know much at all. I thought, oh, I'll move and I'll learn while I'm out there, and I mean I did, but it made the first 6 months or so of living there incredibly difficult. I really struggled to converse with anyone who wasn't an English speaker. I found communicating in shops difficult, and over time it did get better, but it was difficult to begin with. I'm very lucky to have been surrounded by lots of very lovely and accommodating people in my time there, but I think it would just be easier if I had studied more before I went. I remember maybe 3 weeks into living in Nagano, that I went out to the convenience store to buy a carton of milk, and I picked up what I thought was a carton of milk, paid for it, took it home, put it in my cereal, and I thought, oh my god, it's spoiled, it stinks. And it turns out, instead of buying a bottle of milk, I had bought a carton of yogurt, because that is sold in identical packaging to milk. Not an ideal situation. If you do go out and you don't speak fluent Japanese, or you want to learn more, try and find your local community centre or your local international community hub. More often than not, they'll offer Japanese lessons for foreign residents. I was really lucky that a 20-minute drive from my house there was a free Japanese class for foreign residents run by the International Centre in Okaya, and I met some wonderful friends there. One of the Japanese teachers there is actually my best friend now, and she even came over to England for our wedding last year, so you'll find connections anywhere. Okay, number 3 is another one that's going to sound really stupid, but I wish I'd known what the basic shops were, and I guess this stems from never having lived in another country. It sounds stupid, but it's difficult to just pop out and run errands or live a normal daily life if you don't know what your local drugstore is called, or what your local shoe store is called, or your clothing stores. It's a little bit intimidating, thinking, I don't know if that's the shop I need to go into. I mean, Google Maps is obviously a thing, but it would have been useful to know what the basic drugstore was, what the basic furniture store was, what the basic clothing store was, and where it would be okay to go and confidently walk into. And I suppose it goes hand in hand with not speaking or being able to read Japanese when I moved out there, was that at a glance you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between, you know, a clothing store and a drugstore, from the outside at least. So if you want a basic clothing store, GU, Uniqlo, Avail, Shimamura. If you want a drugstore, Matsumoto Kiyoshi or Welchia are normally pretty popular in any region. If you need a supermarket, you'd find a Seiyu most places, a Tsuruya. If you need some furniture, Nitori is probably your best bet, or you could find, if you need anything, you could probably find it in a Donki. Okay, number 4 on the list is just how intense the seasons are. So I get told this all the time by my Japanese friends. Japan has 4 seasons, and I always used to think, oh, that's stupid, everywhere has 4 seasons, but no, it's true. Japan has 4 really distinct seasons. Winter is freezing, summer is boiling, and spring and autumn are just the perfect in between. So I moved to Nagano in November 2017, and it was freezing. I cannot, so coming from England, our seasons are so weak, so it's just cold and damp and average the whole year round. But let me tell you, this winter was like no winter I've ever experienced before. It was snowing constantly. I think the coldest it had gotten at one point at night was minus 16 degrees. I was under 5 layers of blankets and I was still freezing. I didn't want to sleep with my kerosene heater on because I thought it would explode and I would die. But I think I caved in at one point and I thought, no, it's worth it. It's so cold. I need the heat. And then on the other hand, summer was just so boiling. It was humid. It was about 30, 32 degrees constantly from the end of June to the end of August. There was no respite, and living in an old teacher's housing in my city, it was not air conditioned, it was just sweltering the whole time through. It was boiling in summer and freezing in winter. So if you're like me and you have a non-air conditioned house, I would invest in every bit of N-Cool you can find in Nitori. It's got this logo on and it will save your life, I promise. Number 5. So I think what probably would have served me well is knowing a bit of the basics about the emergency services available in Japan. Like, obviously you've got the police, the fire brigade, and the ambulance service, that's a given. But apart from that, like, I didn't know how they operated, the numbers to call them on, or like what any of the vehicles looked like, which sounds ridiculous. But for the first year of my life there, I was terrified of the police. And this is going to sound so ridiculous, but because I didn't know what any of these vehicles looked like, I spent a year of my life terrified of these cars. Every time I saw them on the road, I would slow down, I would do the best driving I ever did. And if you live in Japan or you know what this is, you'll know that's ridiculous because this is a taxi. I genuinely thought, because I couldn't read the side, I thought this was a police car, and yeah, it turns out it was a taxi. If you know anything about Japan, you'll know that a police car actually says police on the side. It's black on the bottom and white on the top and has a red flashing light. So that was a really weird phobia to have for a year. But then another thing that threw me, once I knew what a police car actually looked like, was when they're on like a patrol, when they're just surveying the area, they'll have their lights on, their red flashing lights on. They won't make a sound, but they'll have their lights flashing to show they're on a patrol. And every time I saw them, I thought, oh my god, I'm being pulled over. Oh my god, I've done something illegal. Oh my god, I've done something wrong. But then they're not pulling you over, they're just patrolling the area. If they're pulling you over, they'll make a sound and call out from a speaker saying, please pull over. Here, the fire trucks are a bit easier to identify, but they will regularly go round in the evenings in Japan, around neighbourhoods. This might just be a countryside thing, it might not be a big city thing, but they'll go round in the evenings with their sirens on. They'll go ding 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 ding, drive around the neighbourhood and just make announcements in Japanese saying be careful of fires, or there might be a rainstorm tomorrow, and things similar to that. So if you hear alarms and random Japanese you don't understand, don't be scared, it's just the fire brigade making caution announcements. And just on the topic of emergency services, you might also get an emergency alert directly to your phone. So if there's an earthquake, which is quite frequent, your phone will put a siren on that's connected to the government. It'll put a siren on saying, earthquake warning, please seek cover, and that will freak you out the first time you hear that, because I did not expect that, and I was like, what is happening? You also might get evacuation notices to your phone, and they'll look something like this. They'll come through as a text pop-up. So you could just screenshot that and put it through Google Translate if you don't understand, but it will come in English at the top saying emergency alert, so that's probably something you should look out for. But yeah, those were just 5 of the things that I really wish I'd known before I moved to Japan. They would have saved me a lot of effort and a lot of heartache. But yeah, just go with an open mind and a roll with the punches attitude and you'll be fine. But the more prepared you are, the easier your life will be. But yeah, if there's anything you want to know, just drop me a comment and I'm happy to help. Yeah, until next time. Bye bye.